Obi-Wan, echoes of the desert. The twin suns of Tatooine hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the vast, endless dunes. The desert was quiet, eerily so, as if the sands themselves held their breath. Far from the bustle of Mos Eisley or Anchorhead, a lone figure rode a dewback, cloaked in robes weathered by time and sun. His name was now Ben, just Ben. But once, he had been Obi-Wan Kenobi. The years since Order 66 had not been kind. The Jedi Order was gone, reduced to whispers and dust, and Ben had chosen exile over vengeance. Tatooine offered anonymity, isolation, and a promise. A promise he had made to a dying friend, to watch over the boy, the son of Skywalker. Each morning, Ben would wake in his small cave, dwelling carved into the rock, and scan the horizon with quiet eyes. The Force was his silent companion, muted, restrained, but always present, like a candle flickering in the dark. It reminded him of who he had been and what he must now become. A guardian unseen, a shadow on the edge of the desert. Today, something felt different. The wind carried a tension that stirred old instincts. Ben's hand hovered near the hilt of a long-buried lightsaber, hidden beneath layers of cloth and memory. He hadn't ignited it in years. Its blue glow still haunted his dreams. He rode toward the Lars homestead, keeping his distance as always. From afar, he saw the child, blonde-haired and curious, racing across the sand under the gaze of his aunt and uncle, Luke. Ben smiled faintly, but even in that smile, there was pain. As night fell, the desert transformed. The air turned sharp and dry. The stars blazed overhead like ancient watchers. Ben sat alone near the mouth of his cave, his back to the wall, a small fire crackling at his feet. He rarely slept deeply. Dreams came often. Visions of Coruscant, of the Temple of Flame, of Anakin's eyes burning yellow on Mustafar. But tonight, another image stirred. A shadowed figure in the dunes, watching him from afar. He rose and scanned the horizon. Nothing, just shifting sands and silence. But the Force whispered, subtle, uneasy. Something was approaching. He extinguished the fire and stepped outside. His boots pressed softly into the sand as he moved. The desert, vast and open, felt suddenly too small. He reached out with his senses, quietly, cautiously. There it was again. A presence, faint and flickering, not strong, but familiar. Could it be another Jedi? He doubted it. Too many had fallen. Too many names carved into memory like gravestones. But he could not ignore the feeling. Not out here, not now. Ben circled the area in wide arcs, scanning with sharpened instinct. Minutes passed. Then just before turning back, he saw it. Footprints, fresh. Not from Tusken Raiders, not moisture farmers, not Jawas. The pattern was deliberate, practiced. Someone trained. Someone trying not to be seen. His heart beat faster, and for the first time in months, he felt a pull, a purpose. The quiet of the desert was breaking, and with it, the stillness he had wrapped around his soul like armor. The past was reaching for him again. The tracks led Ben over the ridgeline and into the low canyons, where shadows clung to the stone like old secrets. Here, the wind whistled softer, and every sound echoed too long. He moved with caution, cloak trailing just above the sand, hand never far from the hilt of his saber, though he hadn't ignited it in years. In truth, he feared what it might awaken in him. Then, a whisper, not from the canyon walls, but from the Force itself. A flicker of pain, of fear. Someone was close, injured. He quickened his pace, turning a corner, and froze. There, half collapsed beneath the sandstone overhang, was a figure. Human, young, cloaked. A soft groan escaped their lips as they shifted and looked up, eyes wide with recognition. Not of him, but of his presence. "You're Jedi," they breathed, voice cracked from thirst. Ben knelt beside them. "Not anymore," he said gently, offering a canteen. "But I was." The figure drank greedily, then coughed. "I thought I was the last." Ben studied their face. Bruised, dirt-streaked but alive. "What's your name?" "Kale," they answered, voice steadier now. "Padawan, Kale Revenis." The name meant nothing, but the title struck deep. A survivor. Like him, Ben helped Kyle sit up, wrapping a corner of his robe around the Padawan's shoulders. The boy's eyes darted nervously, scanning the canyons as if hunted. "Who did this?" Ben asked. Kyle shook his head. "Not just Inquisitors. There's more now. Something darker. They're hunting remnants, like they know where to look." Ben looked toward the stars. The Empire's reach was longer than he had feared. And now, the ghosts of the past were becoming real again. Perhaps he could no longer stay in the shadows. Not when the Force was calling. Night had fallen by the time Ben and Kyle reached the shelter of an old moisture farm, long abandoned, its dome structures half buried in sand. Inside, by the glow of a low-burning fire, Kyle slept, breath slow, finally steady. But Obi-Wan could not close his eyes. He sat in silence, staring into the flames, the weight of Kyle's words replaying in his mind. Not just Inquisitors, something darker. They know where to look. Ben had thought Tatooine would be the farthest edge, a forgotten corner of the galaxy where shadows couldn't reach. But they had. And if they found Kale, it was only a matter of time before they found the boy he watched from afar. Luke. The thought pierced him deeper than any lightsaber. If danger was crawling this close, hiding was no longer protection. It was surrender. He stepped outside into the cool desert night. The stars above were brilliant, uncaring. In the stillness, he opened himself to the Force, cautiously at first, like stepping into a memory. It surged through him, hesitant, but present, like an old friend who hadn't given up. Visions came unbidden, a cloaked figure with a red blade, the twin suns eclipsed by wings of shadow, and a voice, one he hadn't heard in years. "You must not run forever, Obi-Wan." It was Master Yoda's voice, echoing not in memory, but through the Force itself. Ben gasped and fell to one knee. The fire inside him, long dimmed, flickered to life. Perhaps not bright, but enough. Enough to protect one more soul. Enough to stop running. He turned back to the dome. Kyle still slept. Tomorrow they would move. And for the first time in years, Obi-Wan wouldn't move alone. Dawn spilled across the dunes in long golden streaks, warming the ancient bones of Tatooine. Kyle stirred awake beneath a worn blanket, his eyes meeting Ben's with quiet resolve. "Are we going back?" the boy asked. Ben nodded. "We are. There's something out there that needs to be stopped, and someone who needs to stay hidden." Kyle stood, still sore, but steadier than before. The Force clung to him like a thin mist, uncertain but undeniable. He was not a Jedi, not yet, but he was something more than lost. They traveled light, crossing ridgelines and forgotten paths. With each step, Obi-Wan felt his senses sharpen, not just as a guardian, but once again as a Jedi. By midday, they neared the jagged cliffs outside Mos Eisley. It was there, Carl explained, that the Inquisitor had tracked him before. And it was there Ben now sensed the disturbance. The shadows came before the sound, flickering outlines gliding silently overhead. One, then two. Then a ship, sharp-edged and black, settling into the sand with a hiss of hydraulics. Ben placed a hand on Kyle's shoulder. "Stay behind me. Whatever happens, you run if I say." The ramp descended. From it stepped a woman draped in black armor, her face half covered by a mask etched with Sith runes. An inquisitor, unmistakably. But something in her presence chilled him deeper than most. She smiled, though it held no warmth. "I thought the Jedi were extinct," she said. "Some fires never go out," Ben replied, igniting his saber with that familiar snap hiss. Blue light bathed the sand in defiance. She laughed softly. "Still clinging to light, even out here?" Behind him, Kyle reached for nothing. For safety, for courage, for hope. Obi-Wan could feel it, and so could she. The battle was coming, and this time, he would not let the desert swallow another innocent. A breath before the storm. The desert waited. The Inquisitor struck, scarlet blades slicing the air. Obi-Wan met her with calm strength, each move shaped by countless battles. Sparks danced across the sand. Kel crouched in hiding, trembling. But something stirred within him. Not a shout, just a whisper. The Force. He didn't run. The Inquisitor pressed harder, fury in her strikes. "You're a shadow," she hissed. "A ghost." "I remain," Obi-Wan said. A final clash. Her saber flew from her grip. She reached for it, only to see it float to Kel's hand. He held it steady. Obi-Wan stepped forward. No more. Silence. The wind held his breath. Then she turned and vanished into the lightening sky. They stood alone. "You didn't run," Obi-Wan said. "I wanted to," Kel whispered. "That's bravery. Will you teach me?" Obi-Wan looked toward the rising sun and smiled. Not as a Jedi, but as one who listens. Together, they walked into the light. The Force, quiet and present, followed.